Tom Fury, it's a liberty that you are not on TV. Come and sit right me and we'll have tea. Never mind the dying kids, or never mind the activist. When a bitch has got legs like this and she look the stuff. Come on mate, don't take the piss. I said don't take the piss. I am sleeping, oh yeah, I'm sleeping with this bitch, Tom Fury.
There are times when the struggle seems impossible. I know this already. Alone, unsure, dwarfed by the scale of the enemy. Remember this. Freedom is a pure idea. It occurs spontaneously and without instruction. Random acts of insurrection are occurring constantly throughout the country. There are whole armies, battalions that have no idea they've already enlisted in the cause. Remember that the frontier of our rebellion is everywhere, and even the smallest act of insurrection pushes our lines forward. And then remember this: the need for control is so desperate because it's so unnatural. Tyranny requires constant effort. It breaks, it leaks. Authority is brittle. Oppression is a mask of fear. Remember that and know this: the day will come when all these skirmishes and battles, these moments of defiance, will have flooded the banks of the authorities, and then there will be one too many, and one single thing will break the siege. Remember this. Try. Now, this is written by a people that know they're already beaten. This is written from the point of view that's from people that know that evil has won and taken control. And it's written from the perspective of how do you wrestle that control back from superior power, superior forces, superior everything to you. You know, they've taken over everything. Exactly the position we're in. Now, where did this come from? This is the confession. This comes from Star Wars. The only, now don't turn off at that point, the only good, well-written Star Wars that I've ever seen produced from Disney since they purchased it in 2014. And that's because the people that got involved in this project were actual professionals, not activists. And yes, all media has a message, and this one had its own message, but this wasn't a woke crew. This is the only adult Star Wars, the only one that wasn't written by activists in 11 years now. And the result was amazing. But don't like Star Wars, but that's why I didn't play you the clip, because it would just turn people off. So the point of it is this a social commentary? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, because the words are true. And I think what makes the show so great is it shows you how you put those words to action. It's very violent. I'm not gonna lie, but the point of it is that I'm not. Some people think we're winning. I kind of depends what your idea of winning looks like, and I see the right being changed. And as I've mentioned to you recently, I see, right now under Starmer we are under tyranny. We've talked about tyranny many times over the years. And when I first heard this, I thought it was quite corny. But the way they told the story, and also things that have happened in our country since, has made these words mean more. Has made these words mean more, because I can see how these you would use all of these things and more. There's a longer part I can't find, or haven't tried to look for. It really goes in, because this part is the more of the moral part, but there's also another part that goes into the logistics of how you do it. But obviously, it's not about, if I did that, you know what would happen to me, and it's not about that anyway. That's not what I'm not trying to suggest civil war. What I'm saying is, it's written from the perspective of a beaten people. You know, it fits the story that was being told anyway. So I'm not saying this is a political commentary. If it's not a political commentary, then it happens to be brilliantly written, I think, to potentially fit the dystopia that I feel now. And how many of you feel, if nothing else, if you don't know the answer, how many of you feel something's wrong? Just enough, if nothing else. We know there's many people in around the world on YouTube and everything else that stuff Dunning-Kruger effect, right? We know there's people that think they know a lot more than they do about many things, and they argue with experts and everything else. But if we keep our communication lines open, we can fight. I mean, it's online safety. If we can fight to keep our communication lines open around the world, regardless, keep bringing the truth. And just like those random acts of interaction, we know that people could lose their jobs over certain things to do with supporting us. We realise that people got to provide for their family first. And that's why, and I want to read this to you again in a second, and that's why I think this is so important. Because an act of insurrection doesn't have to be a massive thing. Some of you aren't in that position. It has to be maybe an email you send, or a conversation you have where you stand up for something you believe in, but you may normally have not. It might be something you did that went against the grain because you knew it was right. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to be Tommy Robinson, you don't have to take down the world. But if all of us, every single one of us are doing something, whatever we can, is the point. I've always said we would make a difference. The problem is that while it's great to have people that are really passionate, fanatics are always the people, they're the people that you need, but they're also the people that you can't tell anything to. And what am I trying to say? I'm trying to say that there's so many people mainstream out there, so many of you out there that support just common sense and common decency and some of the very, very fabric of life that we've been brought up with, the decency of it. And if anybody that comes to the country that can't deal with that decency, leave. And most people don't see that as racism or anything else. They see it as common sense. As I've said to you yesterday, with what they're doing, they're trying to put everything back under the carpet, which means they have absolutely zero interest in sending people back. And I'm sorry to say this to you guys, but I know many of you putting your hopes in Farage. And you know that I'm not necessarily trusting of him. But let's say I'm wrong and he is trustworthy. And I'm willing to, his promise to send back this amount of refugees that I'm not going to call them refugees, migrants and people like that. Do you think you will really see the numbers through that he's talking about? Do you think it's enough? And do you honestly believe that the do-gooders in Parliament will let them get away with it. And say get away with it, that's how they will view it. Do you think it will be that easy? Because I don't. I think that if we've got any chance, we are going to need to fight through the courts and everything. It's going to be worse than Brexit. This is not going to be a simple case of having a manifesto, getting voted in, and getting people out of this country. There are too many people in this country invested in this business. It is a business. And invested in this agenda. I'm not going to give it up without fight. So, what's coming? I don't need to say much more. An intelligent crowd. So maybe you don't feel like this applies to you. Maybe you don't feel like a beaten people. And I say beaten. No, these people aren't beaten. They are fully aware of their circumstances and that they are living. They've had their freedoms taken away and they're living under tyranny. I want to read these to you one more time. Again, the fact that Star Wars meant that I probably wasn't going to read this to you. But I saved the name of what it was to later. Because, again, whether it's social commentary, good writing, I don't know. And like I said, this went on, so that's what made it so good for me, is there's more to this, which I need to find. There will be times when the struggle sorry if my contrast's gone all over the place. There will be times when the struggle seems impossible. I know this already. Alone, unsure, dwarfed by the scale of the enemy. Remember this. Freedom is a pure idea. It occurs spontaneously and without instruction. Random acts of insurrection are occurring constantly throughout the galaxy. There are whole armies, battalions that have no idea they've already enlisted in the cause. Remember that the frontier of the rebellion is everywhere, and even the smallest act of insurrection pushes our lines forward. And then remember this, imperial need for control is so desperate because it's so unnatural. Tyranny requires constant effort. It breaks, it leaks. Authority is brittle. Oppression is the mask of fear. Remember that and know this. The day will come when all these skirmishes and battles, these moments of defiance, will have flooded the banks of the Empire's authority, and then there will be one too many, one single thing that will break siege. You can interpret that metaphorically, or otherwise. The reason I share you with this is not because of my love of Star Wars. Actually, I've come to hate it because of what they've turned it into, so I don't actually like it very much anymore. The reason I've shared this with you is because sometimes whatever face we put on, I think some of us do feel like a beaten people, and or that we're facing, that we're trying to deal with powers so big. Where do you start? How do you make a difference? And the average person, they may not be able to make the kind of difference that they want. But it is about the collective effort. Regardless of, say, Tommy Robinson, who's big ahead of whatever else, all the great things he's done still would mean nothing without the efforts of everybody else who created the space, time and opportunity for that to happen. There's so much more, so many people involved in every single good thing than is ever apparent. One person gets credit on camera, but there's an army of people responsible for anybody's success. Even when I had my little taste of success, it wasn't down to me. It was down to a whole team of people that helped me get there. You know, a whole team of people. Without them, I don't know what I would have done. They were the best team ever. They really were. They were the best team, I think, at that time in the movement. Because you didn't hear much about them. They didn't try and make themselves famous, but they kept me. They kept me going, and they kept the channel going. We were one of the safest channels to come up at that time. Anyway, I've waffled on, but I think we all feel the weight of it round our neck at times, and I can't really get out in words what I want to say today, so I'll think on it. But yeah, just remember this: And if you feel beaten, remember there's always a way back. There is always a way back. Because the one thing that is true is that tyranny, in one way, is so natural, but in another way is so unnatural, and it will always be eventually toppled by someone's. Anyway, I'll catch you soon. Tom Fury.
I hear a symphony of violence piercing through the silent night. Behind a scarlet moon so still reflects back on us,
illuminating rage that's coming now. A symphony of violence, a festival of rage, where free spoke silence and communism's all the rage.
no.
Yeah.
Hey, it's tough, I know you feel rough. Just pack up your stuff, enough. Rage is gonna come reveal soon. Nowhere to hide, no safe little room. Rage is coming from you. It's coming for you, kids. It's growling at you.
Yeah.
Rage is in the room. It's not going anywhere, but its friends are coming back soon. Rage in the room. This is the rage, murdered and staged. This is the plan, try keep up if you can. Never start a war you ain't bought and paid for. World War III, churching, yes please. I hear a symphony of violence, invited by starter, the balmy barbershop. Some